Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to Adam's TV Podcast. I am your host, Adam Samuel. Today, talking week 4, America's Got Talent that champions. It's 4 weeks of this stuff. A lot to go through tonight. We're gonna touch on all the contestants, some news that's been going on about the show. It's been in the news lately. We'll go over some of that. Going over with me today, though, is my co-host Eric. How you doing today, Eric?
I am doing great. How are you? I thought this was, as I was saying in the 2 minutes pre-show, I thought this was my favorite episode of the season so far. Still not perfect, but my favorite episode so far.
I have in my notes that this night was stacked. This was a busy, hard week. There were some weeks in the past where I was thinking, maybe there's some other people who could maybe go through over some of these people who are advancing. This week was the reason for that. It's because there are weeks of like this that are coming, and it's just gonna mess it all up. But we're gonna go through it all, and I just want to go over the quick headlines of the episode. Is that our 2 acts moving on from this group are Ketchy and Brian Justin Crumb, who Eric is quite a big fan of. And I want to ask, Eric, did we get it right?
1 out of 2.
1 out of 2. Eric, I know, is a huge Brian Justin Crumb fan, but I think there are probably 3 other acts that I would maybe consider putting over him. We'll go over it. Do you think, can you see my point a little bit with maybe 1 or 2 of these guys, Eric?
No, I can't actually, because he was my favorite of the night, but I have a different second favorite.
All right. Well, before we get further into the show, I do just want to do our regular plug that I give every week prior to the show. We are on iTunes. Eric puts a lot of effort into editing down these videos. You can go and check them out if you want to listen to us on the go. It's audio only, so you don't have to look at our amazing faces. You can just listen to our soothing voices.
What a great spin you put on that.
That was my sales pitch. Anyway, back to...
Here's my sales pitch. You can listen to us without having to look at us.
Anyway, let's kind of go into the first bit of America's Got Talent news that doesn't kind of have to do with the live show this week. There was an article that kind of came out that was circulating online, and it kind of caught my attention. I feel like Eric is probably going to have some thoughts on it as well. It is that Simon Cowell, the executive producer of America's Got Talent, is looking to add some new blood to the panel. He's looking to revamp the judges, give the whole show a different kind of a look. Thinking about maybe even replacing just everyone. It's just he's going to be the only one sticking around. Eric, what do you make of this article?
I think I'd be shocked if it was true.
Shocked if it was true? Tell me why. Why?
Because the ratings are kicking ass, plain and simple. The show is doing so well that there is 0 reason for him to change anything for financial reasons. However, I would not be mad if he got rid of Howie. I would be very, very happy if he got rid of Howie. So I am not going to complain about this rumor if it's true.
A lot of people who were commenting on this article I was seeing were actually kind of all the judges, Howie is the one they were kind of hoping that would manage to survive this cut. And I'm like, no, don't do it.
If you get rid of anybody, get rid of Howie.
Yes. I mean, you know what? Honestly, the panel this year and in seasons past, once Howard Stern left, I feel I've kind of lost interest in it. Like, I don't watch the show for the judges. I don't think they really add that much to the show, except they're kind of mouths for the producers. And I feel like anything beyond that kind of isn't there's nothing that special about them. They're kind of just pretty faces to kind of show on the brand. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. If it does happen, I'm like, I'm not going to be feeling sad if we lose Mel B or Heidi Klum is what I'm kind of saying. But
I feel a little sad about Mel, but the others can go.
There's one performance from tonight that actually had me going back to an old performance, and Mel B's reaction to it was just amazing. And we'll talk about that a little later. That's just a little bit of a tangent right now. Anyway, let's kind of start to talk a little bit about these acts tonight. But for the results, I just want to say that this was hard to kind of look at this group of talent and only be able to say two people are going through, because after the performance, I was looking at my notes going, I've got four names of people who should be advancing. And this is really,
I only got two. They're not the two that actually advanced, but I only have two.
You know, this episode just kind of had me pining for the days of Howard Stern when he was on the show, because Howard Stern's the man, and he was my favorite judge. I think he's my favorite judge on any of these shows any of these competing shows. He's probably my favorite judge. Not the best?
Probably up there with the best.
All right. Well, anyway, let's start to go through some of these contestants. First up, we have a young girl. Her name is Izzy Simpson. She is a magician. She was on Britain's Got Talent. Eric, are you familiar with this name?
Yes, I was, because I watched that season. So Izzy was on the same year as Tokyo Myers and a couple other great people. Tokyo's going to be out next week. Izzy is she was 8 when she competed on the show. She's now 10. She's actually been on Ellen DeGeneres' show once, and she's had a little bit of success being on American TV before, but it's still cool to see her. Having said that, her talent is in her presentation. The tricks, super easy to pull off and figure out, but she commands the stage really, really well for a 10-year-old, and I'm happy I got to see her again as a result.
She is one of those acts that kind of come and go on America's Got Talent that I feel are more personality than kind of the act itself. Like, Izzy kind of has this big commanding presentation. Like, when she walks on stage, she kind of has this banter that she can have with the judges. And I feel like it almost a little bit overshadows the trick, because the trick is a little bit simple. It's a little bit straight to the point. And it's kind of, I noticed this is something that a lot of magicians kind of do. There's a lot of filler with the act. Like, she gives each judge a book, and she kind of pulls it out and she says, look through it, make sure they're all the same. Like, I'm always of the opinion that obviously, like, if a magician's going to give you a book and say, make sure they're all the same, they're obviously going to be the same. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, the trick was just, it was good. It wasn't a bad trick. It's just kind of not up to the standards of what this batch of talent kind of should be and what I should be expecting of it. Am I correct, Eric, or is that too far?
You're basically correct. Having said that, she is adorable and she's really good at presenting the tricks. The tricks are just not that sophisticated.
I kind of feel like I've seen these kinds of tricks before. Like, it's kind of bizarre, like how all the magic acts, like of all the acts on America's Got Talent, the magic ones are the ones that are kind of starting to blend together, which is really bizarre for me to say. So Izzy she doesn't end up making it. Do you think she should have had a shot? What do you think?
And last week she probably should have had a shot. This week, no.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. This night was just. This was a tough night, and I feel like for her to advance over some of the other people,
it would have been a crime.
It would have been a bit of a crime. Anyway, that's kind of my opinion on Izzy. Let's kind of switch gears and talk some opera. We are talking about the Texas tenors. Eric, are you a fan of opera music? I feel like I've asked you this before, but are you?
You asked me when we talked about Paul Potts, and I said he was my third place of the night. But no, I'm not a fan of opera music. This in particular was not my thing at all.
Yeah. When I saw that they were going to be performing, I was kind of looking at the list going, I'm seeing the Texas tenors, so they have to have been on America's Got Talent, but I couldn't remember them. And they were kind of from a really earlier season. I didn't watch it. Are you familiar with them at all? I guess not.
No.
So yeah, they kind of come out on stage. They apparently were finalists season 4, which is a long time ago, but they perform Unchained Melody, which is a song that has been done quite a few times on these shows. I feel like it's almost going to be starting to break into that overdone territory, but maybe not quite yet. For me, this song it's a little bit sleepy. I don't know about you, but it kind of, it doesn't, it builds to kind of
I was
one.
bored.
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes that it came across a little bit sleepy. What did you think of the performance?
I was bored. That's all I have to say. Not my thing. I was bored. They're talented enough, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it.
This is because Lindsey Sterling wouldn't come back, Eric.
You really think they're because Lindsey Sterling wouldn't come back? I can think of a lot of celebrity acts before them.
I don't know, but they're good. It's just this song didn't really do them any favors. Is kind of what I'm getting at, and I feel like with a better song, it might have turned out differently. But for me, it's not just the song; it's this night. Like from this point on, I think it starts to get tough, and I feel like they are just one of those acts that kind of,
with a couple exceptions.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. They were just kind of a B in a sea of higher scoring contestants, is all I'm gonna say. Anyway, do you have any final thoughts on them, or are we gonna let's keep it going?
Let's move on.
Let's move on to what? Whatever.
You go.
All right, let's talk about Drew Lynch. He is a stand-up comedian, a name I'm very familiar with. I remember watching him performing. He is a stand-up comedian. He has this story where he was hit in the throat. I believe it was with a baseball, and it resulted in him developing a stutter and struggling being able to talk. But he still goes on with his act, and he tells a lot of jokes. A lot of them are kind of geared around his story of being a stutterer. What are your thoughts of Drew Lynch, Eric?
I wasn't really a huge fan of him when he was on the show the first time around, but I have to say he's grown on me since. He was on Conan about a year ago. He was really funny. This set I thought was pretty great. By the way, he also hosted the Media Access Awards for Disability Representation in Hollywood this year. It's funny there. I watched that for work, and my boss was actually in the audience at that award show, so that's pretty cool. I'm happy that he was on the show. He actually would have been my third place of the night, if I'm honest.
I don't know if I would I would probably put him in my top 5, maybe top 4. For me, I kind of agree. One of the judges, I don't remember who, actually says the set was a little short. I'm going to agree. I feel like this should have been longer. I'm feeling like I feel like he's someone who needs a little bit more time to kind of build the banter. I did find it very unfair that they had him on the same night. Not only the same night, but performing right before Paul Zerdin, the man who beat him in the finale. I do also want to point out his stutter was not nearly as bad as I remember it. I feel like it was kind of a lot worse before, and now it's
I don't know what's up with that, but all I know is that he's still really great. I mean, the jokes were pretty good this time, I think.
Yeah, like I said, I don't like that his stutter is kind of the act. Like I feel like
not, though. It wasn't the whole act.
It was part of it. I feel like it should be something else. I feel like he is still someone who is fresh in my mind, that I remember that story. And I remember that he did jokes that were kind of all centered around it. And I kind of want to
They weren't all centered around it this time.
This time it wasn't, but it was like kind of a little bit of both. I don't know. It's just kind of my opinion. I've been following Drew Lynch actually since his performances on America's Got Talent. He's actually got a YouTube channel, and he's actually like kind of got a lot of followers. He does a lot of videos with his dog. I think the dog's name is Stella. Are you familiar with his YouTube page, Eric?
The dog's name is Stella, and I have watched the YouTube videos, a few of them.
Yeah. I feel like YouTube is a good platform for him. I feel like he could that should be where he should go. Do you think? Do you think that is the angle that someone like him should go for?
I don't know, but I'm just hoping he does well, because he's talented. He's nice. So
yeah, he does end up actually making it into the top 4, but he gets there in a tie. You kind of answered this before, but you believe his placing up there is warranted?
Yes, I would have. My ranking of the night, if excluding Golden Buzzer, I would have put Brian Justin Crumb first, Paul second, Drew third, Catchy fourth.
We'll be talking about that a little later. Anyway, that is kind of my thoughts on Drew Lynch. Like I said, he's still awesome guy. He's got some great content on his site. He's going to be fine. He's a funny guy. And yeah. Anyway, let's move on to who I believe is probably one of the most talented America's Got Talent winners. I'm going to say it is Paul Zerdin. He is a ventriloquist. He won and he beat Drew Lynch in his season 10, I think it was. And now he's like got a headline show. He's like a pretty big shot like guy, and he's pretty well off. For me, Paul Zerdin is just like, when I think of America's Got Talent, I think usually of one of his performances when he put the dummy mask on Howie Mandel.
One time Howie made me laugh was that performance.
I believe that might have been the funniest comedy set I've seen on the entire America's Got Talent. Like everything I've watched.
100% agreed. That was his best performance, and that was absolutely outstanding.
And not only that, I feel like the reason Paul is so good is because he's not an expected ventriloquist. He doesn't do like something that you would expect. Every time it's got a twist. Like sometimes he's going to walk off the stage and the dummy's going to come to life itself. Another time he's going to put the dummy mask on a person. Like, he is so special and so talented because he has, like, I don't want to call it a gimmick, but he has that little extra special something that he's going to give you that's going to make you have something to talk about. And for this performance, he does a trick where he ends up with a puppet. He ends up beatboxing and humming at the same time. And how did he do that?
I don't know if it was reverb or something, but whatever it was pretty cool.
It was really cool. It wasn't like the best compared to what he's done in the past, but yeah, this is the reason I have such fond memories of this contestant. It's because he does these ridiculous things that no one would expect, and it kind of gives you something to talk about. It gives you something to want to call someone and say, you have to see what this guy did. It's incredible. And it kind of gave me a little bit of a taste of that. One thing I do also want to point out with his performance, he began his set without a puppet, which I thought very brave. What do you think about that decision to go there, Eric?
Again, I loved it. I would have put him through, honestly, as I said. I think the problem with Paul is that the two other ventriloquists who've won America's Got Talent can sing as well, and he can't. But Paul makes up for that by being much funnier than both of the others. And he's a different kind of ventriloquist, and I think he should have made it through. I think the starting out without the puppet and doing the jokes about like being on the elevator was great. I think he's hilarious, and I'm a little mad he didn't make it through, if I'm honest.
I do just want to give a quick shout out to our chat members. We have some people in the chat, which is pretty crazy. Grace Sweeney says, I thought the Texas Tenors were brought in to replace Calabro, maybe. Eric, do you kind of have a thought on that?
Could be. I mean, that's possible, actually. I mean, yeah, they're pretty sort of similar. Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Another comment that I want to mention is from, I'm going to pronounce this name wrong, and I apologize if I do. Azad says, what's with the bias with the acts that were on AGT recently? No acts from season 1 through 10 have made it. That's a problem, and I blame Simon. Yeah. Recency bias is a thing on America's Got Talent. It's just going to be what it is. There's nothing you can really do. Anyway, going back to Paul Zerdin, damn, he didn't make it. The fact that he didn't kind of gutted me, because in my opinion, I would maybe rank him third for the night on my personal ranking. And this is one of the reasons that if he had been on any other night, he probably would have been my number one if he wasn't competing against his batch. Maybe unless it's like with Susan Boyle and Darcy, but he deserves to advance. He's just 100%. He's so good, and he went home so early. Eric, he went home and he didn't even make it. Well, not that early. There's only one more round after this. So
I hate this format. I've said it before. I will continue to say it. This format is absolute garbage.
Not going to disagree.
It's awful. Anyway, let's talk about Moonlight Brothers. They were the winners of Denmark's Got Talent. They are a dancing brother duo. I've never heard of these people before. Have you, Eric?
Nope. And this is where I wish I didn't throw away the sign.
Sorry, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Eric, that's like the equivalent of giving like the buzzer to one of these acts. That's not okay. We're going to talk about the buzzers a little later. Anyway, for the
Well, it's not the equivalent because I'm not on TV and my opinion doesn't matter. My opinion's not going to ruin anyone's career.
It matters to our 4 viewers, Eric. Anyway, I remember there are some acts from Britain's Got Talent that I remember watching. These guys were kind of giving me vibes. I'm going to throw out this name, Eric. I don't know if you're going to be familiar. Twist and Pulse. Does that?
I know them. Yes.
They were kind of reminding me of them, but not as good. And this act was just kind of forgettable.
It was so much better. I'm sorry.
I will say, like, of all the acts, like before I start the show, I always try to type in like our tags for the episode. And there was one act that I was like scratching my head going, there's someone I'm forgetting and I don't remember who. And it was that.
Okay.
The thing is, I feel like they would probably struggle on any week of traditional America's Got Talent. Like if they were on like the top 36 or the top 48, I feel like they would struggle just as much, which I don't know what that says about like the talent in Denmark, but how did they win?
I don't know.
This
is a horrible format for the show because what it does is it makes us all like feel like snobs about foreign countries not having as many talented people, which is like such a typical American thing to say. Like, oh, all these other countries don't have talented people, only we do.
I mean, it's not bad. It's just compared to some of the other stuff on the show, it's just kind of ordinary. And on a night like this, if you're anything like 2 acts are going through, like you got to pull out everything. Everything's got to happen. And yeah, I don't like being mean, Eric. I don't like being mean. No. Anyway, let's move on to the next act. And I will say from this point on, it gets pretty hard. This is when...
Well, one exception.
It gets pretty difficult. Anyway, let's talk about who I'm going to say is my personal favorite act of the night. Yeah, I'm going to say it. It is Tape Face. And I don't even know how to describe this act, honestly. Like if someone was to say to me, tell me what Tape Face does, I would go, I don't really know. What Tape Face is one of the acts that is synonymous with America's Got Talent with me. Like I've seen his video on Facebook, on YouTube. It's one of those videos that just kind of blows up and everyone's kind of talking about it. I remember watching his audition live when he did the 2 puppets and they were doing the faces thing. Like everyone was talking about it. It was just such a big moment and he's just so weird. It's just such a strange act and I love it. What is your opinion on Tape Face, Eric?
Okay, so now I can see why we disagree because I'm not a huge fan of Tape Face. Still not my thing.
Good night, everyone. This was a fun podcast.
I mean, I sort of like it, but I'm definitely not blown away by it. And I definitely wouldn't put him through over anyone else.
I gotta disagree. I love this. T-Face, whenever I see like his face on the stage, like I just can't stop like laughing, like something ridiculous.
Okay, here's what I will say about the act though, and it's nothing to do with Tape-Face himself, unfortunately. So Terry Crews, totally game to participate in this act. He did a great job with this, right?
Oh, definitely. That? I was actually going to touch on that in a second.
Made me so excited about the prospect of Terry replacing Tyra.
Yeah, the thing is, there are some people on the panel who are like, we didn't know Terry before tonight, who are willing to kind of play along. And I mentioned this earlier in the show. There was one moment with Mel B where she kind of was not playing along with it. It was actually a Tape-Face performance. I believe it was from the finale. And do you remember that performance, Eric? No. It was... He like is playing with these 2, you know, when it's like a stick and it goes into like a horse's head, like a toy horse. And he like, you don't remember? And he brought Mel B on stage and he like put a toilet seat over her head and like threw a plunger on it. And she, if you go back and rewatching it, she like is so not invested in it. She has like this angry face. I'm pretty sure at one point she like mouths the F word. Like she's just so not having it, which is such a contrast between her and someone like Terry Crews, who is so willing to play along. And I will say at the beginning, he also picks Howie to kind of come on stage and join him for the routine. And I mentioned this before, but I'm going to kind of reiterate it again, that for all the things that Eric and I say about Howie Mandel, if you are an act on the show and you have to pick one judge to kind of join you for the act, always go Howie. Always, because he's the most likely to play along. He played along for the first part. Terry played along for the second part. I would love a show with Tape Face and Piff the Magic Dragon, honestly.
I'd like a show with Piff the Magic Dragon. I thought show Piff the Magic Dragon.
I don't know about you, Eric.
I mean, I'm sorry. I get why people like him. It's just not my thing.
It's just so strange. It's just so like silly and simple and just amazing. This was the first time I laughed, I think, all season, like really laughed all season.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe we like different kind of comedy acts, but this is the comedy show I would go to. Like, I would love to go to a tape-based show. I would love to just there's a story behind that face. Like, I've said that before, but when you look at tape face, like something has gone on with this guy's life that he has decided, you know what? I have an idea. And he pulls out tape from his drawer. He's like, this is going to win me. This is what's going to happen. I can't say it enough. I love Tape Face. I would have given him my golden buzzer. I'm going to say it. No, nothing to say, Eric?
I'll let you have your fun.
You know what? I should have started this podcast with the tape over my face. That should have been how I started. Anyway,
I will say, this took a turn because I was totally expecting you to be freaking out over a completely different act.
Ooh, well, you know, Tape Face is just, he's probably one of my favorite contestants who didn't win, is all I can really say. And he's amazing. He's hilarious. That trick with the I don't even know. What do you call it? Oven mitts? It's like iconic. It's just so, anyway, I've said enough about him. Anyway, let's move on to Ketchy. Ketchy is a singer who I don't think anyone can really forget her because her story is just so incredible. Like, she was in this plane crash. She was, I believe, only one of 2 survivors from this entire plane crash. And now she is a singer. And tonight she's performing You Are the Reason, which is, I believe it's Callum Scott, who I think won the X Factor.
Did not win. Deserved to win, but did not win Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah. So what did you think about Ketchy's performance tonight, Eric?
Obviously, I'm partial to Callum Scott. I love Callum Scott. I wanted him to win when he was on. I actually met him, saw him live. Humble brag, not so humble brag. But I like Ketchy a lot, and this was a way better than I remember her being, actually. I thought this vocal was pretty great. I still would not have put her through over Paul, but I still really did enjoy it.
I don't like to be harsh, but I'm going to kind of give a little bit of my opinion. I think that Ketchy is a very good singer, but I think she's kind of, it's a little untrained, like the voice. Like, she's a good singer. I feel like she kind of lacks a little bit of the more, I don't know what it is. Like, there's a difference between her and like a professional singer. Maybe it's just more experience. Maybe it's more time singing and practicing.
He has gotten a lot better in the past 2 years, though.
Yeah. For me, this kind of didn't do it for me. It was a good performance, but it was kind of, I would maybe put her 5th, honestly, on my list.
I'd put her 4th.
Which is a little bit crazy because she ends up getting the golden buzzer from Simon and advancing. But the thing is, I'm nothing against her because she's like a lovely person and has this amazing story. But I feel like she's going to get a lot of hate because she advanced at the expense of a lot of other acts that a lot of people like. Do you think so, Eric?
Don't know. I mean, she doesn't deserve hate. It's no one's fault except for the judges.
Yeah.
And the producers. And not the super fans.
Super fans. I love that. I'm going to miss it when we go back to regular America's Got Talent, and I'm not going to be able to do that.
I am not going to miss it at all. I'd much rather be able to vote.
I don't know. Anyway, like for Ketchy, good for her. Like she seemed to really enjoy the moment, so I'm happy for her, but I am kind of gutted for some of the other acts that kind of that didn't get to advance over her. And that's kind of my opinion. Anyway, let's talk about regurgitating.
Let's talk about barfing.
Let's talk about the professional regurgitator, which is a name I had hoped I would never see again. I remember watching this act live. Oh my God. He made it to finale night.
Made it top 4.
How did he make it to top 4? Who was voting for this guy?
Heidi was loving him, remember?
I couldn't watch this.
I didn't watch it tonight because I saw a razor. I'm like, no, I'm done.
All right. Let's talk about that because he does this trick with a rate. For those of you who blessedly aren't familiar with this act and hopefully don't have to be, this guy swallows things, brings them right back up, and does some weird things in his stomach. But there's one moment because he's holding a razor blade. He's like, I'm going to put this inside of me and also swallow a tomato. And then while they're inside my stomach, I'm going to cut the tomato with the razor and have both of them come up. And the thing is he's looking at the blade. He puts it on his tongue. And as it's on his tongue, Simon Cowell hits the buzzer. And the professional regurgitator like looks surprised. And I'm like, Simon, you almost killed him. Simon, he's gonna die. He's got a razor blade in his mouth. What are you doing? And he's like surprised, and it's like takes him off like balance, and he's like, what the hell? God. All right. I am not the biggest fan of Simon Cowell, but I almost wish he had been there during the professional regurgitator's original run so he could have buzzed him at the auditions so he wouldn't have to deal with this.
Fun story for you. Regurgitator was on Britain's Got Talent.
Yes.
Did not buzz him.
What did he think about him?
I don't know, but he didn't go by Regurgitator, but he went by Stevie Starr, his actual name. And he's been on he probably actually holds the record for most Got Talent appearances on different franchises.
Who else is throwing stuff up? Of course he's going to be on these shows. He's so unique.
He's been on at least 5 or 6 different Got Talent shows.
He is so disgustingly unique. I can imagine.
Well, yeah, Simon had 100% seen him before. So Simon's buzzer was, I don't know if Simon... I didn't really watch the comments. Did Simon pretend he never saw him before?
I don't know. For me, I just wrote down in my notes, ew.
That's enough.
But I will say, it's a talent, but he's just like...
Is it a talent?
He's like a strange guy. He's like got his shirt open and he's like wiggling his stomach. And I'm like, oh, what is this?
Let's move on, shall we? This is the perfect time to move on.
It's like such a weird transition from catchy to professional regurgitator.
And back to talent again.
And then back to talent. Simon, why did you do that? Anyway, we have Brian Justin Crumb, who is Eric's one of his favorite acts. Am I correct, Eric?
Definitely the best singer I've ever seen on any Got Talent show.
Yep.
No question in my mind about that.
In my opinion, I believe him, and I'm going to throw out this other name. I'm pretty sure we've talked about her before. Emily West.
Not even close.
I believe they are the two best singers to ever come on these shows.
Emily is mediocre. Brian is amazing.
You shut your mouth. Mediocre? Emily West.
I was not an Emily West fan.
What? How do you not like Emily West?
I don't.
Eric is wrong, I will say. Emily and Brian Justin Crumb are two of the best singers, I believe. Eric is entitled to his opinion, but that's mine. Tonight, Brian was taking on Your Song by Elton John. The beginning was kind of weird for me. It kind of started in this weird place. It was a little bit choppy, but then once he kind of got into it, it it came back to the Brian Justin Crumb that I remember. What did you think about the performance, Eric? Did it live up to your expectations?
Here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. I would have picked a different song for him. But it didn't matter, honestly, because the fact that he's just such an amazing singer, amazing vocalist, by far the best that's ever been on America's Got Talent. And even with a song that I wouldn't have picked for him, I'm thrilled he made it through. And I can't wait to see what he does next round.
I think I said this before, but for me, Brian, every time Brian Justin Crumb performs, I'm always thinking to myself, how did you get here? Like, you are way too good for this match. Like, the America's Got Talent singers are not ever on your level. Like, you are head and shoulders above 90% of the acts that have come through this show. You are like, how are you here? Like, you are too good for this, is kind of my impression. I'm always taken back to his performance of Creep, which I actually still remember and still go and rewatch, which is second place to Gene Irene's performance in my mind.
That's number one in my mind. Sorry.
The thing is, I thought this performance is better than Catchy, honestly.
Like, 100%.
Which means it's like, he deserved the golden buzzer a little more. I'm going to say it. I think he deserved it more.
He did.
I mean, of the two acts that advanced, I would rather Brian advance from the golden buzzer and then Catchy from the Superfans.
Would you have put Brian through it all? Where was the overall for you?
So the acts that I personally would have put through, Eric is going to probably not be that happy, would have been Tape Face for my golden buzzer and probably Kenichi Ibina, who we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah, that's who I would have put through.
I disagree with both. 100%.
For me, it would have been those two, and then Paul Zerden in third, Brian Justin Crumb in fourth. Those would have been the four. I would have said any of those four deserve to advance.
You're entitled to your wrong opinions.
Just like how you are about Emily. Anyway, for me, Brian, he I don't know about you, but he really reminds me of Adam Lambert a little bit. Like, there's
sort of. I mean, doesn't have the scream notes like Adam does, but sort of. Yeah, I get that feeling.
I do. I always get that vibe from him. Like, I don't know if it's the look, like, but he's got like this a really big range. Like, he can really belt out some really good notes. Like I said, I've said this before. He is a cut above the edge of every other singer that we've gotten on these shows, and it's rare that we have someone like him on the shows. And you know what, Eric, he deserves to advance. I'm not going to take that away from him. Any of those four that I mentioned before, I think should have advanced. Yeah.
I'd say two of the four should have advanced.
We'll see.
Okay, but let's hear your rave about Kenichi.
Before we do, I do just want to point out in the chat, Grace is saying the professional regurgitator won Germany's Got Talent.
Oh, he did win one. That's good.
How did he win? Who is
won one of them, at
this
least.
guy? Also, Grace is saying he did GT in the UK, Czech Republic, Italy, and France. This guy's been all over the place.
Yep, I told you he holds the record probably for most Got Talent franchise appearances.
Azad is also pointing out in the chat. I don't know. Kenichi was the big name this episode. I don't know how he didn't go through. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. All right. Anyway, let's on that note, let's talk about Kenichi Ibina, who, in my opinion, Eric is going to disagree with me. I can feel it. He's looking at me through the Google Hangout, but he is my personal favorite winner of America's Got Talent of all the seasons. That season was the first season I think I've ever been as invested in a show as I was in a usual season of American Idol. I actually went to a lot of the live shows during this season. I went to, I think, 3. I just remember this moment when I was walking in Radio City Music Hall with my little brother, and I was walking down the stairs, and randomly, I don't know if you remember this name, Eric, but Collins Key, do you remember that name? Was just sitting there, like sitting on the stairs, like playing on his phone. And I like walked by him. He was going to perform in like 20 minutes. I was like, good luck. And he looked at me as he said, thanks. Then he went back to his phone and I just kept walking. And that's just, he's really huge, that kid. He's got like millions of subscribers on YouTube. I always see his videos in trending. Like, that dude is really like, that is the closest I've come to fame. Like maybe if I hadn't wished Kolinsky luck, things could have been differently. Anyway, for Kenichi Ibina, like I said, that season had the best format. It had the best judges. That was the best season, and he is the best winner of them. He is the best. He was the deserving winner. Eric has something to say. Go ahead.
Agreed with best format, 100%. Debatable with best judges. Fully disagree with best winner.
My opinion, my personal favorite opinion.
It's fine.
Because I just remember, I think I was still in high school when he performed, and I just remember his audition being like a phenomenon. Like everyone was kind of like walking around like
member berries in you is the problem.
You know what, Eric? That is the goal of this show, and for one act, it got me. I was taken back to my younger days of watching this season. I remember being in the audience watching these acts, and he was just one of them. He is. Dude, he's like a legend. He's like a ninja. His act, he's a dancer, but he's not just a dancer. He uses his mind to kind of come up with these ridiculous like things that no one would ever think of. Like I just think I have a crystal clear memory of all of his performances, of him kind of doing the basketball routine with the mirror, and it turns out the mirror isn't actually a mirror, it's a projection of him, and then it comes to life, and it's something different, and then he's having a battle with it, and I'm like, how do you think of this? Not only how do you think of this, how did you put this together in a week? Like, how do you do that? I'm ranting a little bit. Eric, what did you think of the performance?
Okay, I don't get the hype. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And I know that people are probably typing, Eric is so wrong in the comments right now. And that's fine.
If you're listening, Eric is wrong.
Okay. I personally don't get it.
You know
it
what?
was okay. I didn't think it was anything spectacular. And the reason is I've seen better dance acts and I've seen better projection acts in the past.
I actually went to Kenichi's Facebook account, and he was actually like interacting with his commenters, and he said the reason he actually I think I don't know if I'm remembering this wrong. I think he actually like says he feels he didn't deserve to advance because the routine wasn't kind of up to snuff, but he mentioned also that he kind of had to do something that would fill up the entire stage because he's one person. He's like he's not like the tallest guy. He's like a littler guy, and he kind of has to kind of do something big to kind of bring more attention to him because he is like so like he's not a big group.
To be fair, I have not seen his previous performances. I mean, not all of them. I actually went back and watched his first audition, and that was a lot better than this was.
That audition was, oh my God.
The audition was way better than this. But based on this, he did not deserve to go through.
I'm going to disagree. I think he did. This dude is just...
I mean, I didn't watch all his other performances. What I watched was this, and based on this, he didn't deserve to go through. If you look at... I'm sure based on other performances, maybe you could say he would deserve to go through. But...
him and Paul, like, they are legends. They are America's Got Talent legends in my head. And it was crazy. Like they're back. They're performing again. And this was that one moment, like for me, where I was kind of the member berries were taking their effect, Eric. They were. I had drank the member berries, and I was all in. I was feeling it. And this performance just took me back to those days, watching these performances live. That season, that was. I don't remember. Like I said, I remember like just loving all the acts. There's even like a comedian who is cut like in the top 48, who my sister and I still sometimes tell the jokes like to each other because we saw him live. It was like ridiculous, like dumb but funny jokes, and it's just I've drank the member berries, Eric. I'm too far gone.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that's kind of the 10 acts to perform. I believe, Eric, do we have one more show upcoming or two more show before we get to the finale?
Well, there were 7 episodes that were taped. I have no idea how the last 2 end. We have at least one more week of this type of round.
Yeah, because I was thinking, because I don't want to mention spoilers, but
and then the last 2 weeks, I have no idea what they are.
Because I was trying to think because I'm not going to mention the spoiler names, but I was trying to think like the names of the top 10, and there's still some names to come. But I was thinking in my head, and I was thinking like, I got 3 names, and then I was confused. So I don't know. Anyway, the results, we get Brian Justin Crum advancing on the super fan, vote. Paul Zerden coming in second, deservingly. Third place, Drew Lynch and Tape Face. I would have switched Drew Lynch maybe for Kenichi, honestly, and I wouldn't have even put Ketchy through. That's kind of just my opinion. So I have to ask you, Eric, of all the acts to perform tonight, who was robbed, if anyone?
Paul Zerden.
Yeah, among others, I will say.
Only Paul Zerden for me, honestly.
All right. Well, we got one more week coming up. Who are you still waiting to see? Who are you still kind of hoping to see get to perform?
I am super stoked for Lost Boys Guy's American TV debut next week. Super excited about that. Yeah, he's basically the only one left, I think. So, oh yeah, and Shin Lim too.
Shin Lim
and Lost Boys Guy are the two I'm looking forward to.
That's not fair to have him back. He's like the winner.
Yeah. So is Lost Boys Guy of Britain's Got Talent.
I don't know, Eric. At this point, I kind of want to ask, like we've kind of gotten the gist of this show. Do you think there's going to be a second season?
Heck no, they can't. They already did everyone this season.
I agree. There's no one else. I don't know. Anyway,
this is a one-time thing.
This is
now. Might they do a second season of America's Got Talent and the winner like a regular season? Possible. I hope not.
I don't know.
I really hope not. I really hope they don't do 2 cycles of it like they do with Boys.
That would be rough.
That would be awful. I mean, I would still watch it, but they really shouldn't.
I guess. Anyway, that is kind of our show. Do you kind of have any final thoughts you want to touch on, Eric, before we kind of head to the close?
Not really. I'm looking forward to it. I think next week should be good. Finale should be good. Results should be good.
Yeah, and we got some American Idol coming up, which is pretty exciting. Yeah. Some news coming in. Anyway, on that note, I want to say I am Adam Samuel. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Soapbox. I run my 2 websites, adamsoapbox.com and adamcvblog.com. Just finished the rough draft of my next Adam Soapbox post. Haven't posted there in a while. Happy to finally be getting something else on there. I was actually working on this really big project that was kind of taking up most of my time. I actually, crazily enough, just finished the rough draft of my first fantasy novel, which is crazy to me. It's like 150,000 words. It's
God.
I've been working on this since last summer, and I put down my pen like last week, and I sat back from my computer, and I was like, holy shit, what have I done? Anyway, so I'm taking a break from that, and I'm happy to be back to posting my blog post. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on with me. Eric, where can we find you?
EricAscher.com, Eric_Ascher on Twitter, EricAscher01 on YouTube. And I was also interviewed in the Washington Jewish Week last week, and I talked a little bit about the podcast in the interview. So if you saw me there and you started watching this because of that, thanks.
Yeah,
and I didn't scare you off.
And I love that on that questionnaire that they kind of asked you. They said, "What show is your favorite?" And Eric's response, "Anything but The Voice." Go, Eric. Anyway, that is our show. Any final spoiler talks? Do you want to do a quick spoiler talk, Eric?
I think we can actually, since we made a good edit point with that as our show, we can talk spoilers now.
All right, so viewers, this is your spoiler warning. There is spoilers incoming. Eric, what do we have coming next week?
Shin Lim makes it through next week.
Shin Lim makes it through, and isn't there also like a sand lady? I remember reading about
some weird obscure Got Talent winner.
Yeah, are those the final 2 advancing? Because I was thinking
those are 2 advancing from next week. Yes.
And
then Darcy and John Doerr and Boss are 2 wild cards.
God damn it that we lost Tape Face this week. Like, I know you don't get it, but like, this act was kind of a little bit of a letdown when it got to the results, is all I can really say, just because I have so much history. The member berries, Eric. It's the member berries.
It's it's a perfect analogy because if you did not have a member berry like I didn't have, you'd be confused.
I actually remember I remember I don't remember where, but I was out for a Halloween party and someone was dressed up as tape base. And I just remember that. I think I was in college and I was like
just some duct tape on the mouth. That's great.
He had the shirt, he had the jacket, he gelled his hair. And I was like,
it's all about the duct tape on the mouth. That's what matters.
How do you breathe? For me, I would suffocate.
The duct tape is pretty loose, I guess.
Man, I actually recently watched an episode. It wasn't an episode. It was an interview with Tape Face without the tape. And he's just as hilarious, just regular. He's this normal guy, but he talks a lot. The thing is, I think he mentioned that he put on the tape because he just wanted to shut up. He wanted to kind of do a different kind of comedy, but he's very, he talks a lot and he's hilarious. And
send me that interview. I actually want to watch that. Put it in the show notes.
I will send that.
Put it in the comments.
All right.
This whole section is not being on the audio version, so we don't need to put it in the show notes.
All right. Eric, thank you so much for once again helping with the iTunes. You do a great job with it. I checked it out this week.
Google Podcasts now as well. I'm not sure about Spotify, but
if you can send me a link, I will add it to our description moving forward. And yeah, that's it was a good show, Eric. Thanks for joining me.
Episode.
Until next week, guys, this was fun. If you're watching this, subscribe, please. If we get to 100 subscribers, I will
change the name of the channel. Change the URL. I
will record a cover of Baby Shark.
Okay, I'm gonna create 35 fake accounts right now. I'll be right back.
Baby Shark. All right, guys, this was fun. Till next week.